if you don't like, you know, what your present world is, it's sort of like, yeah, this is where you have to problem solve and realize like we're all humans. The only thing that sort of makes us different, like one person from another, is is mindset, really, and see how that's different from the brain. Because in your instance, the brain was not getting the nutrients it needed to thrive, but you still had the mind. Everybody has the mind, and no one has access to that mind except you. You are in control of your mind and your mindset.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love
yeah.
to actually talk about that. You talked about being responsible. In your three pillars, the very first one of your three pillars is radical responsibility for your reality. And I love that because
Yeah.
one of the biggest challenges that I faced personally when I was struggling with the symptoms of my bipolar before I started healing was feeling like a victim. I felt
Mm.
like a victim. I felt like I had no control. And I could see the damage that my behavior when I was
Mhm.
struggling with mania or depression was doing to my family around me, but I felt like I didn't have any control over it. And so I felt like, well, I can't help it, you know? And so
Mhm.
it was a really challenging way to live because I
Yeah.
could, I loved my family. I loved my husband. I loved my children. I didn't want to hurt them, but I was hurting them. And I felt like I didn't
Mhm.
have any control over what was causing me to hurt them. And that's one of the things that I talk to people about is how important, the very first thing I teach people is how to create a mood cycle survival guide, which is taking responsibility for the symptoms that you have.
Mhm.
That is the very first step because they're going to happen
Mm.
and you can't, maybe you can't control it. Sometimes you can, but
Mm.
sometimes you can't. What are you going to do when it happens? And so
Mhm.
I'd love to hear you talk about, what you mean by this radical responsibility for your reality, because I think that if you want to have a happy life, it starts with taking personal responsibility for yourself and your life.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And as you're speaking, like so many different terms are coming through my mind, like self-awareness, for example. Like, I mean, it's so hard. Like, I'm just going to say, like, to everybody, it's so hard, but we have to do it step by step, day by day in order to gain more awareness. But like, it's sort of, um, if you don't like, you know, what your present world is, it's sort of like, yeah, this is where you have to problem solve and realize like we're all humans. The only thing that sort of makes us different, like one person from another, is is mindset, really, and see how that's different from the brain. Because in your instance, the brain was not getting the nutrients it needed to thrive, but you still had the mind. Everybody has the mind, and no one has access to that mind except you. You are in control of your mind and your mindset. So, sort of like that's where we take on, where there's a will, there's a way. And I am not a victim. I have my own agency, my own free will to do whatever I want to do. There has to be a solution. And I'm going to continue to look for that solution. And that's what you had, Michelle. You had that determination and that drive. And maybe it was that day you connected to your life's purpose, that was like, no, I must find a solution. There is a solution. And everybody has that. I mean, I think, God, whoever, like, did not like favor one human being over another. Like, we were gifted this power of the mind for us to access it and use it. So, yeah, like, I mean, I feel like, I'm a specific type of therapist in that way. I do not do well with individuals that, are living in that victim's mode. And I'm okay going there for a little while. But if you're going to show up every day and talk about, how much your life sucks and why has this happened to me, like it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
There's probably many other therapists out there that are more than willing to take your money and just listen to that every single day. But yeah, I can't do that. Like I just cannot like do that.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about self-awareness, because I had this understanding that the more self-aware I became, the
Yeah.
more I could aid in my own healing.
Yes.
And because the people that I was going to for help weren't mind readers, they
No.
couldn't identify what was causing things to happen. And so it was, one of the best tools that I started using was a mood tracking app that allowed me to kind of choose which variables I was tracking. And I started making connections. I started recognizing, when this happens, I have this reaction. Why is that happening? What's going on there that's connecting those pieces? And then I could go to my therapist and say, okay, so I had this reaction when this happened, and it's happening over and over again. Something's under there. And then we had something to work with. And so, your second pillar that you talk about is practicing daily self-awareness of your energy and your thoughts. So what do you do with your clients? How do you help people with that?
Well, it can be so, and I also, before I go there, name that mood tracking app again, because
It's
I would
called
like
Bearable.
to.
It's awesome.
Bearable.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the name.
Yeah, it's got a little bear as its icon, but
Aw.
I love it because it's, people can use it for whatever they want. It's been very helpful to me for my, tracking my symptoms and that with bipolar, but people can use it for health problems, whatever. It's very, very customizable and easy to use, and they have a very robust free version. So,
Right. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So I think it can be super, super simple simple, but not easy. Let's put
yeah,
it that way. Right.
yeah,
It's sort of like every day when I wake up, like, the, the first thing I do is try to think about like being intentional. And I shouldn't say I try to think of, I do this. I lay there and I'm thinking, where can I set my intention today? Is it towards a loved one? Is it towards myself? Being kind to myself. Is it like how, yeah, set your intention, and then get out of bed and begin your day sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of self-awareness, it can be the most simple thing, like just noticing your surrounding, because we live in such a robotic state, like, and that's where we start presuming and assuming and have these expectations of, oh, I know my partner's going to do that today. He always does that, or that's going to be his answer. Like, who says?
Yeah.
You change every day. Why wouldn't they change every day? So sort of like being willing to notice changes in your scenery, in the people around you, being curious about, another person, like simple thing like, how's your day going? Or just, oh, interesting. Like, that's a different bird sound. I never heard that bird sound before, sort of thing. Like, it just sort of like being aware in that way. Or something so simple like, having a piece of fruit and peeling it slowly and looking at, whether it's an orange or banana, the color of the banana, like the flesh of the banana, the smell of the banana, like, that can literally be like a 3-minute exercise if you wanted to do that.
yeah,
But like, to me, that's being mindful rather than, scarfing that thing down your mouth, right? It's like, I choose rather not to eat than eat rushed. Like, and all the physiological, chemical reactions that happen in your body when you scoff down food as well,
yeah,
right? It's sort of like if you're in fight or flight mode, I mean, it's sort of like the body goes into sort of a protection mode and says, oh, this person is in huge stress. Turn off all the digestive juices, like
yeah,
no enzymes, like not being digested. Sorry. We're
yeah,
going to have to wait for that for another day. And so, like, what's the point?
yeah.
Like, No, I want to suck out every single nutrient from the foods I take in. So let's eat slowly and allow for the digestive juices to start, right from the mouth to the gut to the colon. Yeah.